That took a while.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so strange that you're in the future.
It's weird that you're in the past. I didn't realize it was so early in the morning for you, so I'm so sorry. I would have tried to work it out a different way. I'm really sorry. That's so early.
I know, but I just try to be really flexible because otherwise it's like such a mess because I try to organize these with like multiple people at once. And if I were to like not just kind of like just go with other people's time the best I can, it's like a lot of back and forth. Like, how about this time? How about this time? So I usually normally would just be like, okay, that's the time. If I gotta get up at 4 in the morning,
Wow,
whatever.
committed.
It makes it easier in a way. It's like, I guess. So it's like, it seems like I'm putting in extra work, but I don't know. It's also being lazy at the same time in a weird way.
Fair
But
enough. That's funny.
yeah, anyway, I really like your content. I like um that I like your synth playing and I like the fact that you're a guitar player and I remember that when I first found you, it was through like a guitar video and then it got to the point where you're posting like nothing but synthesizer videos for a while there. It was good though. I liked it.
Yes, I
How long, how long have you
thank
played
you.
each
This is all very flattering.
how long have you played each instrument for?
Um, I think this is my sixth year playing guitar, and that mini lab I got for Christmas, so 4 months? No, three. Yeah, ish.
Awesome. You're killing it with the synth. I can't believe you've only had it for 4 months. That's really surprising me.
Thank you.
It's almost like I almost would have guessed that you were playing synth longer. Like you seem like you really know what you're doing there.
I mean, that's a massive compliment. No, I just like I'm obsessed, like unhealthily obsessed with Nine Inch Nails. And I just think everything Trent Reznor does, it's all him, or mostly it was until recently, but like he just creates songs using all different sounds and like I don't know, I guess the inspiration from that just like I spent a solid 4 weeks learning about synthesis, read many long, boring PDFs, but it's been good.
Do you like really understand like the ins and outs of like voltage control oscillators and like LFOs, like what it all means when you say that you read up on it? Like, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like I'm not an expert, but I could definitely work my way around the machinery now because it came with Mini V, which is like a remake of the Mini Mo. It's based on your laptop, yeah. So I was reading how to do all that, and you have to learn about all of those things. So yes, I did.
Yeah, I've kind of a backward approach with that because I grew up with synthesizers around me when I grew up with synths around me since I was young, and I really haven't delved in enough into like what the knobs all do and how they affect the sound and like I do understand it at a basic level, but I find it admirable that you like were like let's just like get down to basics and just figure out what this all does before I even start. Um, I should really do that more. I think it would help me also with creating my sounds because when you know exactly what the knobs do, what the words mean, how it affects the parameters, like it's easier for you to hear something in your head and then be able to make that reality, you know?
Yeah, and it's rewarding, like as you were saying, making it a reality when you finally figure out how to modulate something or you get the LFO to work the thing you were trying to work. It's like, yes, like I did it. So yeah, I would
And
definitely
it's kind of
delve
incredible
in.
how deep it gets with that. Like I like the you have these videos you make where you're like just like ask people to like make ask me to make a sound that sounds like a thing and then people will be like make a robot like I can't think of one off the top of my head but those
Yeah,
videos
I
are
know.
really interesting.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, I know those ones. Um, I
yeah,
love doing that.
it's pretty cool. I really think that's cool, and I think that's what's so cool about synthesizers is that you can, kind of like make it sound like almost anything if you know what you're doing. Like you can even make
Yeah,
it sound like an
I
acoustic
think they're
guitar.
fascinating.
Yeah, like I remember a friend of mine made a synth they showed me one time in Ableton with Massive, the program Massive, and it sounded exactly like an acoustic guitar, like exactly like an acoustic guitar. And this was a synth that they made, and it just gets kind of
Yeah,
crazy. It gets really deep with that stuff, like, and it kind of like it's kind of like one of those things where you're talking about being a producer like Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails and producing all the music by yourself. It's like if you're not embracing the world of electronic music and the things you can do with it, you, you're really not gonna go anywhere with that. Like there's so many
yeah,
possibilities at your fingertips because of it.
yeah, and especially like the way that life, but music is going in, everything is on computers. So like, might as well get in there early and like learn how to control them before they control us. Um,
Oh my gosh, you're right. You people from the future get it.
yeah. um, yeah, like I made a bass pluck sound on my synth that sounded like a real bass, and that's probably not as impressive as like an acoustic guitar because it's harder to recreate that sound. But I remember sitting
Yeah.
there being like, wow, like it's real.
Yeah, it's really interesting. What do you as compared to finding like a sound on the guitar, like when you're dialing in like effects and the synthesizer, right? Where do you see those two worlds are like the same, and where do you see that they're different as far as like molding a sound on the guitar and making your own sound with the guitar and synthesizer?
I think that's a good question. I think there's more control, as in there's more chances for you to make it what you really, really want with a synth. With guitar, I always just try to make it sound as far away from a guitar as I can. Um, so, but I feel like guitar, it's more limiting. Like I have an amp that's got presets in it of effects, but like the most you can do is add reverb and distortion together. Whereas with a synth, like the name synthesis, it's got like you can make your own sounds. I just feel like they cross over to some extent where you can try to make an instrument sound as far removed from what it is as can be. But I also feel like they're completely different worlds. And that's why I was reluctant to post synth videos initially because I'm like, I'm a guitar account. People are going to see this and be like, what's she doing? That's so different. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I understand what that's like. Totally, I get that. Cause I have been playing guitar for a long time, and I started with synth, I would say, because it was just like around me. But when I went into the world as a musician, I did it with the guitar, and my first initial like step into the world, I guess, like I had a band, and I was like a guitar band, guitar, bass, drums, and I've always liked synth music. I've always liked electronic music. I've always wanted to embrace it. And like when you decide that you want to, when you decide like, okay, this is a thing I'm gonna do now, people are like, what the fuck? You're the guitar guy. Like that's
yeah,
like they get confused by it. And it's been such it's like a mess. It's like a confusing mess trying to package myself as an artist and who I am and be a guitar player and a synth player at like both, right? In both approaches. And that's why I thought it would be interesting to talk to you because it's actually kind of a tough world to navigate. Like it's kind of tough to figure out how you don't confuse people or something. I don't know. And it's silly, right? Because like when I look at your account and I see your guitar playing and I see your synth playing, I see it as somebody who's trying to make like psychedelic sounds through the instrument they're playing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter whether it's a guitar or a synth. You're trying to make it sound otherworldly and make it sound like freaky. I don't know. So
That that is like one of the coolest things ever said to me. It's true because like social media like can suck a lot. And I remember before I posted my first synth video, I was like, oh, like I shouldn't, like it's too different to guitar. But then I was just like, forget that it's TikTok and Instagram. Like you're trying to make sounds. I have synesthesia, so I see colors and patterns with sounds. So I try to like recreate them for people, which is really hard, which I've learned because I've asked people and they're like, I don't see that at all. I'm like, oh, it's colorful. It's clearly this color. So I'm trying to like create these sounds and little sound patches to try and get those weird sensory, things working for people. So that's when I was just like, you know what, stuff it. Like, it doesn't matter what, I could be playing the flute. As long as I'm trying to get those sounds out, that's all that matters. And if anyone is, rude enough to be like, oh, but you're a guitar player, like, what's this? I'll just be like, okay, well, you obviously don't appreciate the cool, weird space I'm seeing in my head. So,
that's a cool way of putting it. The cool, weird place you're seeing in your head, making it reality. What a fascinating thing. That's pretty cool.
I'm
Yeah,
so glad you get this.
well, that's why I wanted to talk to you, is because I felt like we'd be able to understand things. I don't know how much on the same page we would be, but I felt like it'd be an interesting conversation because this is a similarity that we have that isn't like, I mean, it's not totally uncommon for someone to play synth and guitar, but I just see that you're probably, and with
Yeah,
the TikTok thing, when you talk about uh like choosing like guitar or synth, and how you're just like, screw it, if people don't understand it, that's kind of their problem. I think that's kind of like, for me, like with TikTok, what I'm starting to embrace, and this is just kind of like my theory about it, and I've heard other people see it too, is like it kind of wants you to feed it as much content as you can. It's like a AI, you know, a living thing that wants you to feed it content. And I think that TikTok is like literally like, I'm realizing the reason why I love it is because I don't have to section myself off into pieces on this app in order for people to appreciate who I fully am. Like if I'm posting like, I know it's going to be confusing to people, but like if I'm posting like synth stuff one day and then I'm like talking about my political beliefs or my spiritual beliefs one day, or whatever, and it goes all over the place, at first that might be confusing to people, but eventually it forms this congruent thing that is you and your brand and what you are, because no artist is just their music. You're everything about you. So I
yeah.
think that
I guess I haven't,
that's that's what's good about
I
this
was just
app
gonna
is,
say, yeah, yeah. I haven't thought about it like that before because I get pretty shy on camera and I've never really been the kind of person to talk about things. I rather just post things, but I like how you see it as like it's not just my music, it's like who I am as a musician. And I guess maybe I should try and create more content that's more about me and stuff because then maybe people understand where I'm coming from when I try to create sounds that like
yeah, like for instance, have you ever talked about in any of your videos that you have synesthesia? Have you ever mentioned that before?
no,
Yeah,
it's
people are gonna find
a
that
fairly
fascinating.
new I should mention that in one of my videos. It's a fairly new development. I thought it was normal and then only a few weeks ago we went to this art thing, me and my family, and they walked out and were like, "Oh my god, like that was terrifying. What was that?" And I was like, "No, like that's what I see when I listen to music. Like I see all those colors and patterns." And they're like, "Are you on drugs?" I'm like, "No." And then I took part of this study for a university and they're like, "Yeah, you've got synesthesia." So maybe I should mention that in one of my next loops. That could actually
Yeah,
be
this is an
interesting and I can find other people who have it.
it's absolutely like, for me, like doing these live streams, right? Talking to people like this is gonna be the most badass shit ever. I can already tell. Like you're the third person I talk to. I know this is gonna blow up because everyone I talk to is so fucking goddamn interesting. It's ridiculous. Like the guy that I talked to before, the guy that I talked to before you, okay, he was from a Muslim family where music was forbidden his whole life. He had to hide making music. He stayed at school late and said he was like at soccer practice and stuff because he was on his little laptop, like on his pirated music program making music because it was forbidden. And he had to like come out to his parents as an adult and be like, yeah, I'm a musician. Like, sorry, I make music. Like, and he was a scientist that was studying viruses. Like, this guy
Oh
was,
my
it's,
god.
yeah, and you as well are an incredibly interesting person. Like you literally see colors, and your approach to music and everything is like really interesting. And what I'm just learning is like people just don't even realize how interesting their story is, or how interesting what they have to offer the world and their perspective is. And I think that's my job here, is to bring that out of people and make them realize how important, not only just like, here's the art I made, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's more to it than that, I guess. Like, your story is important. And I'm learning about music marketing too, like from these music marketing guru fucking guys that are on here, right? And they talk about that a lot, how people want to know your story. And if they know your story and can relate to your story, they're more likely to form like an emotional connection with your art and like buy it, when you put it out. So sorry if I'm
Yeah,
ranting. I
that
don't mean to talk over you or anything.
no, like that's so interesting. The story about the guy who was secretly making music. A, I could never imagine a life like that. That would be terrible. But B, like, yes, this live thing you're doing would be a great way to find interesting people with interesting stories, and I think it's a great idea. And like, I haven't thought about talking about the synesthesia because I know, like, I hate how in the world of independent artists these days you have to be a brand, like you have to be, you have to have a certain following, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I feel like putting out that personal connection would be a great way to find people who see the same things as you and share views. Because, like, I'd be thrilled if I saw someone else on TikTok who saw colors when they listen to music as well. So I like that perspective. I shall consider it for a future video.
Yeah, it's I don't know, like the brand thing, like making yourself into a brand. I get that it's annoying, but I'm starting to realize that it kind of it's always been that way. Like every band has like a brand, right? Like it always has been that way. But now it's just become like being a musician has just become weird. It's just become really weird and complicated. And it's so how it all happens now is so different. And I think too what you're talking about with the brand too, it's like being an influencer. That's the really weird part, right? Like you're supposed to be an influencer. But hear me out. Your name's Phia, right? That's how you say your name.
Yeah.
You're gonna enjoy it if it works out for you, and then like all of a sudden like Moog's sending you like synths to try out and stuff, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's an annoying thing, but if you're successful at it, it has some pretty cool perks. Like.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I see influencers, and Arturia has just sent them their new massive poly brew, and I'm like, "Oh, I wish I could
Oh,
have that."
yeah, I
But
feel
yeah, it's
that.
interesting. Yeah, there's the influencer need and requirement for musicians these days. And if it works out, that's fantastic. But if it doesn't, which it doesn't for so many people, it's tricky because, like, you're putting yourself out there and you're making videos all the time. Like, I spend, all my weekends and spare times filming and editing and doing voiceovers and thinking, like, I used to write like 6 riffs a weekend just to find, the best two to post that week. It's time consuming, but it's rewarding. Like, my followers went up pretty quickly in a week. I think the algorithm was just like for a week and then it just stopped. But in that week I gained, so many more connections. So it's a weird balance. It's like partly really good because I can find people to talk to, but it's also like you have to be perfect.
I don't think you have to be perfect. What
not
makes you think you have to
not
be perfect?
perfect like oh, I'm a prodigy. More just like I was thinking in my head, I didn't say it. You have to please the algorithm. So like when the 7-second videos were a trend, um, they probably still are. It's good to tap into them.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah, but also like with the like perfection thing, like striving for perfection as a influencer or whatever, which is weird. It's really weird. I get it. Um, by posting a lot of content, right? Just by posting, that's how you get good at being an influencer or whatever, and finding your voice and like what it is you're doing besides just the music making and all that stuff. And I think that you gotta fail like everything at life. You have to fail really bad at it like a bunch before you succeed at it. So I think you're doing great right off the bat, and I'm feeling pretty confident about it too. Like on my end with how it's been working with me on TikTok, I feel like this breath of relief through this app because like I've always hated all the other apps so much. They just all suck. Like they seriously blow. And I actually like this app. For once they made something where I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like this talking live thing where people can discover us, like what a cool feature. The video reply thing, that's a cool feature. Being able to put sounds over stuff. There's just all it's just they just were like approached it social media in this like way more creative way than everybody else. And as an artist, you gotta appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. TikTok is my favorite of the social platforms. Um, and I love the live feature. I've gone live before and have had so many people just come on and be like, "Oh, this is so cool," and not even in like a validating way, just in a vibe. Like people just kind of commenting like, "Add this," it'll be cool if you reduce this sound, and it's awesome. Um, there's many positives to TikTok. It's just yeah, you have to learn a lot. I've been shadow banned so many times purely from like uploading too much or not uploading enough or not spam liking, but commenting on people's posts a lot. And it's tricky to navigate, but once you kind of get your head around what you should do, it can be really rewarding and really fun. Like it's so good to talk to people and, vibe, I guess, with other musicians. I'm not going to say collab, but like just discuss things. I like the openness of it.
Yeah, it is really open. It's designed to be collaborative. Like the duets and like what an insane thing, right? Like you got people like building whole songs like with the duet feature, and it's like I don't know, it's just pretty cool to me. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Now,
I love when people duet my videos and add drums and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so good.
yeah, it's crazy. I'm curious now as far as both with TikTok, but just in general. I guess a question would be like, what are your goals with what you're doing as a musician? Like, what do you want to accomplish with your art?
I want nothing more than to be a musician. I want to make music. It's like not to get too corny or depressing, depending on which way you look at it, but music is the thing that makes me happy. And that's why I try to spend every spare second doing it. And I just want to release music. Like I've been writing songs since I was 10. And like I've been working on like a solid set for like 3 years. And I just want to get music out there and find people who like see it the same way I do from a synesthesia point of view or not.
Yeah, what man, I can't imagine the way having synesthesia, which for people watching, that's when you see colors with music when you're hearing the music. That's got to give you this incredibly different relationship and view of music that other people don't have. And to be able to know that there are other people with that, and to try to make music that relates to people with synesthesia, that's that's got to be really cool. And also hard though. It's got to be difficult. I don't even know because I don't know what that's like. But yeah, that's really incredible.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, I'd love to, because everyone sees it differently as well. Um, so for me, there's one song I can think of where it's pink and grey and it's got little specks of light, and it's one of my favorite songs ever because when I listen to it, I just see like this galaxy in my head, and then I try to make songs that I think capture that same look. But like, what if you show them to someone with synesthesia and they're like, "Oh no, this is like dark blue." You'd be like, "No." So it'll be interesting to see.
have you ever
Um,
had that experience yet where you showed somebody with synesthesia? No, you haven't had that yet.
no, I told because I'm in a covers band. I told my covers band that I had it, and one of them went, "Oh, I know someone with synesthesia," and I got excited, and I'm like, "Oh, what kind?" And they're like, "Oh, the smell one," and I'm like, "Oh, damn." So yet to find people with auditory visual. I'm gonna probably ask on some social platform soon because it would be very interesting to ask these questions, and if the musicians collab and create like a weird visual song.
Yeah, I feel I almost feel jealous of you in a way that you have that. Does it ever make it harder for you making music with synesthesia, or does it make it easier?
There's um like sometimes easier. It depends. It depends on many things. It can be really hard because like I might make a song and all the sounds in it like look have the same color. So I'll be making this song and it's just the same kind of color being used over and over, and I'm kind of like, I need to find something that breaks the, blue is often a common one in my head. It's like a weird royal blue, and it just always comes up and up, and I'm like, I need like a light or I need a grid on it or something. So it can be tricky to find sounds that match the colors in your head but also match the quality of the song. And also, I might find a sound that's cool, and then when I actually put it in combination with other ones, it comes up as an ugly color, and I'm like, no, like this can't be a brown song. So I haven't actually thought about it that deeply, and that's why this interview thingy has been so fun because now I'm like, wow, like I haven't realized how much it affects my music making process.
Yeah, and that's why I feel pretty good about the interviewing people thing. It's like I said with the last interview I had and with this one, people are realizing things about themselves that they wouldn't realize if I didn't just like point it out, you know? Like like the synesthesia thing is that's you. That's your like as an artist, that's a huge part of who you are and people are going to be fascinated by it, and then also finding that community of people who also have it and making art for them. That's such a cool subject as well. That's I really wish you luck in that endeavor, and that's such an interesting thing too to me, like the colors and like the way you pick out sounds. Like I wonder if that helps you break out of like the monotony that some people get stuck in, where they don't realize that they're kind of in the same territory. Like I wonder if you're able to see that better. Like, oh, okay, this next sound that I have to put on, it it's too blue. I need it to, you know what I mean? Like you're able to see this weird thing that maybe other musicians like notice the same thing as you, but just only audio wise in a different way. It's really it's really weird it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around, you know?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. Like maybe for me it's colors, but for people who don't have it, there is something else that signifies it. But yeah, I haven't thought about it. And I like that I'm seeing it. And you should like 400% keep doing these little talks with musicians because like who knows who you're going to talk to.
I know, and I know for a fact, like with this app, like I'm seeing people who are incredibly talented, right? And they don't have that many followers yet. And they probably don't realize how great they are or how much they're like I can see people I've already found a few where I'm like, "Oh yeah, this person's going to fucking be huge." Like and if I can
That's
get an
awesome.
interview and if I can get an interview with them before that happens, that's like huge. And if I just keep doing this, like it's only a matter of time before I interview somebody that is going to become successful. And not only that, I'm going to end up getting the clout eventually where I can literally ask people who are already fucking successful for an interview. I just have to keep doing it.
That's a clever point.
What's that?
That's a clever point.
Yeah, so and I was nervous about doing it. I actually started the interviewing when the pandemic hit and this gated vibes thing, but it was on Twitch and YouTube. And once the pandemic kind of softened or whatever you want to say, um, I just fell off from it because the real world came back, you know. And also it was just really doing it through Twitch and YouTube was really annoying because I felt like I was doing my live streams to like a brick wall. Like nobody comes on the live streams on Twitch or YouTube if they don't already know about you. And it's like, how do you get them to know about you? And it's just like with TikTok, I feel like they finally figured it out where like you don't feel like you're beating your head against the wall when you're first starting out. Like, yeah, sure, we only have 6 people watching, but we have 6 people watching, at least on
I
my end. I
know.
don't,
Hello to all those six.
yeah. So it's like, I don't know. This app streamlined everything. I can find everybody on the app. I can interview them on the app. Um, it's just like, yeah, it's just this is a really cool thing, and I'm gonna take advantage of it. And I'm glad that you're appreciative of it and that you're able to realize some things about yourself. And I found it interesting learning about you. You're a great artist, and I wish you all the luck in your endeavors. I know you're gonna do great things.
Thank you so much. It's been so fun. I feel like overly flattered. And yeah, it's been super, super fantastic.
High five over the internet phone. Boom. Okay. It was good talking to you, and let's keep in touch. My inbox is always open if you want to chat, and keep posting videos and keep it up. And thank you everybody else for watching. And my next live stream is tomorrow. I'm gonna be doing some live looping on my synth. So I don't have any interviews lined up right now. I'm fucking up. I need to line up interviews, but I just been having a week, having a time. But yeah, I will be lining up more interviews. More stuff's coming down the pipeline. And thank you again so much, Fia.
Thank you. I've had such a good time and all the best.